Hey, dethroners, welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic podcast. Today is going to be a very interesting conversation. So I am talking with Danielle Fette. Danielle is a wound care burn nurse by trade, and she worked in the medical device and pharmaceutical sales industry. And she and her husband co-founded FetTech. And that is a regenerative medicine company that invents medical devices that are used in the hospital to heal patients. Now, this is life-changing technology. And I am really looking forward to our conversation today just to learn everything about what you're doing in the world. It sounds fascinating.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So first off, let's just talk about what is regenerative medicine and how did you and your husband kind of get into this field?
Yes. So regenerative medicine is using your body in an all natural way to replace or repair what's injured. So various disease states, injuries to make potentially like an organ. And there's ways to signal to your body to heal and repair, almost like a salamander's tail or a starfish. If you break them, they can actually regenerate back. Mm-hmm. Whereas humans, if you're healthy enough to heal, will go through an inflammatory phase and then form scar tissue. And that scar tissue is really just to cover it real quickly so we don't get an infection. But that's not regenerative. Regenerative medicine would be healing so that when you are healed, it doesn't look like you were ever injured in the first place.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, this almost sounds like it's too good to be true, right?
It sounds like sci-fi. So when I was first introduced to it, I'm like, is this like Frankenstein medicine? Is this sci-fi? I'm like, what do you mean you're growing body parts in a lab? Like, what planet? And, I first stumbled across this in 2007, maybe 2006. And I can remember thinking like, this is the coolest thing I've ever come across in my life and in medicine, and it's going to change the world. But so my path was, just to take you back a little bit. Yeah. I always knew I wanted to go into healthcare. I was obsessed with all things healthcare. If someone fell, like I can remember at 4 or 5 years old on the playground, someone fell off the monkey bars, blood everywhere on the ground, and all the kids would ran away screaming. And I remember just holding this child and crying and like feeling very mature and like this sense of obligation to help her heal. And that just continued with me as I grew up. It was just this innate vomit didn't scare me, blood didn't scare me, and I wanted to help people heal. However, I'm dyslexic. So school is really hard for me. Reading and writing is challenging. Through that dyslexia, though, I have other superpowers. I'm very creative. I can figure things out. I've had to overcome a lot in school because you don't want people to think that you're not worthy or you're not smart enough. When you know you're smart, but you just can't perform like other people, it's tough.
Yes. Yep.
Really tough.
Yeah.
But I did get into college playing lacrosse. I was a good athlete. So that helped me get into college. And then in college, even though I entered pre-med, it was kind of a joke at one point. I'm like, okay, Danielle, realistically, we have to figure out what you're going to do because you're not going to pass any of the tests to get you into some sort of medical program. So I talked my way into a nursing program while I was at University of Delaware. And through doing my nursing rotations and specializing in burns, I just realized that being on the hospital floor didn't feel right. And it was hard for me to admit that so young because I'm like, okay, this is what I wanted. I wanted to help people, but I'm like, you have to be so attention to detail and you have to clock in and you have to clock out and you know what to expect every day. And I'm a really creative, think outside the box kind of person. So that was not fulfilling to me. So I went home crying. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? And a professor said to me, you would be great in sales. And I'm like, is this a joke? Like, I know I would probably do well in sales. I've worked my whole, since I was 15. However, I care about people and I want to make a difference in the world. So he told me about medical device and pharmaceutical sales, that there's positions where they'll hire you if you have a clinical background and you would go into the operating room and you would teach surgeons about new cutting edge technology that they didn't learn about in med school. So it's really a way. I mean, there's many ways doctors keep up with continuing education, but there are reps that go assist in the OR to teach them how to do really cutting edge things. Like my first major position was selling a pacemaker, but the leads went into the brain for Parkinson's and essential tremor. And it was a really glamorous job. But it got kind of neurosurgery to me, got kind of old. So I stumbled into a role of wound care. And I loved wound care more than any other position because it was very subjective. And I realized a lot of people aren't really trained in it or aren't really good in wound care. So wounds, for example, it can be anything from if you're in a fire or just basically an opening in your skin defines a wound. And somewhere along the way in wound care, I stumbled across regenerative medicine. We had a product that was like one of the first cutting edge products in regenerative medicine. And you put this product on a patient and it signaled to the body to heal very quickly. And I saw the most amazing healing results. And one night, a speaker didn't show up. I was getting a bunch of doctors together because there was a patient at one of my hospitals that had a really rare disease where the flesh attacks itself. And so that patient couldn't heal. And I was desperate to help her. She had been through so much. So I scheduled this dinner. The speaker couldn't show up. And I called the company like, listen, I am on stage. I can present no problem, but I don't know this product. It's a brand new product. And I have serious people that are coming here, not for a free meal, but to actually help someone. So I need help. And they're like, oh, the developer of this product actually lives 45 minutes from you. I'm like, wait, what? Because corporate headquarters were like states and states away from where we were in South Florida. So my now husband, who clearly wasn't my husband at the time, came to the dinner. And as soon as he opened his mouth, I remember not only being so wowed and in love and in awe by the information he was sharing with us educationally, but I was so blown away because in corporate America, not many people are really passionate about doing the right thing and helping people. A lot of people in corporate America are there to push a product to get more sales so that there's more money funneling back into that company. And I remember looking at him like, he cares about people like I do. And he's passionate about this product. And it was like the greatest feeling ever.
Wow.
So we just became very close colleagues because through work, I'm like, wait a minute. He's like the magician. I would have ideas about things I wanted to use in the hospital, and he could go back in the lab and tweak things to make them better for what we wanted to use on the hospital floor. Yes. And together we just thought, wow, the sky is the limit together because he knew most of what I didn't know when it came to medical device. Like everything had to get something FDA approved. How regulatory, how to actually make it. I mean, just an FDA submission is like a binder of 10 years of clinical studies.
Oh my
and then
God.
I had worked on the sales and marketing side. So I knew everything. Like once he got a product approved, I knew what to do with it to bring it to the patients that needed it. We were pretty excited to help this other company at the time that we met grow, but things turned south with that company.
Yeah.
He wouldn't sign off on product that he thought could potentially harm patients. It was this huge lawsuit that I had to keep quiet about for a long time. And we both ended up losing our jobs over it. And just had a baby at the time. And I'm like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
We're not supposed to work for other people. We care too much. We're too good at what we do. We know how to make a better product and we can bring it to the patients that need it faster. We're doing this on our own. So we started FetTech. I don't know the exact number of years ago, but probably like 13 years ago, a while ago. And now we have several regenerative medicine companies in different therapeutic areas and really doing whatever we can to advance medicine so more people can get the help they need.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I have so many different questions that I have. I definitely have questions about the future of regenerative medicine, and I want to get to that, okay? But the place that I want to start is number one, that it sounds like from the time that you were a little girl that you had a vision, whether you recognized it or not, you had a vision for really who you're supposed to be on this planet. Does that resonate for you?
Yes. If I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be, I had very strong feelings along the way of what felt right and what was not satisfying to me. So I
Yeah,
knew to steer away quickly from positions I didn't like.
right. But there was something that you said that I really want to like just sort of hone in on, because you said that, um, there were some jobs that were glamorous. I think you called it, right? You called it a glamorous job that, that a lot of people are sort of swept away by, well, it's, okay, well, it's good money and it, kind of keeps me here, sort of in that, like what everybody wants, right? Enough money and, but for you, that there was something that you were connected to that was from way deeper within, that wasn't enough for you, that what you really wanted to do was to have a much bigger impact on the world. And so much so that, like you and your husband came together, which of course, like-minded attracts like-minded, right? And so here the two of you come together, and just the whole, almost what we can say now is like divine perfection about losing your jobs, right? That everything that happens, sort of now that you're looking back on your 13-year journey and really all the puzzle pieces that came before you founded FetTech, are you able to see, wow, I can just so clearly see how all of this got us to where we are right now?
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things as a human is to look back and put the pieces of the puzzle together and connect the
Wild.
dots and be like, wow, this happened for this reason. And
Yes.
I've always had a lot of faith, whatever you want to call that. I've always had a peaceful knowing that things were going to work out for me. I can't explain why. So I'm an optimistic person and I've been through a lot. I mean, a lot. But in the times that are low, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm fake and I get excited, but I definitely know that I'm eager to see what's going to happen as a result of that. Like
Yeah.
I don't stay in the lows too long and I try not to stay in the highs too long because I know nothing lasts forever.
Yes.
I feel the lows and I feel the highs, but I get excited knowing that things are going to evolve and this is all part of the story. The unfolding of everything is all part of our story and our journey. And naturally, I'm a really impatient person. Like I'm a very impulsive. I want things yesterday.
Yeah.
My husband really grounds me. And coming from a scientific background, projects can take anywhere from 2 to 10 years sometimes. Like
Right. Wow. Yeah.
you have to learn to really balance
Mm-hmm.
and check yourself and not get too attached to ideas because
Yes.
you have to have the confidence that things are going to like pivot and turn and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
However, with that being said, you're 100% right. Like I just knew I was going to help people somehow in medicine in a huge scale,
Yes.
in a very big scale.
Yeah.
Always knew that.
So this just inner faith, this inner trust that things will work out, I think is really crucial. And you had said that, you struggled with dyslexia, and I just want to sort of unpack how this all plays out, because what I believe about every human being is that we all carry shame, right?
I agree.
And if we aren't really able to look at that shame, we'll kind of spend the rest of our lives running away from the shame. And so somebody that, let's say you carry some shame from your childhood, many people would again kind of settle on, okay, well, this right, this is a guaranteed thing to make me feel like I'm enough, you know and I think that what you're talking about is that you are always willing to have the courage, because that's really what it is, the deep courage to put yourself way outside of your comfort zone in circumstances that not only could potentially fail, but probably have failed, right? That they're right in this whole journey that right, how far you've come and how much further you want to go. The willingness to be able to put yourself in a position where I might fail. This might not work out. And to have that underlying trust, you know what? Whatever it is, I will be okay and it will work out. How do you think that's supported this journey for you
Oh,
thus
I'm
far?
sure it's had such a huge impact. I mean, I know I have a lot of people in my life that are way smarter than I am, can
Yes.
take tests, can retain information, can get down to the details much better than I. But if you lack the confidence or the faith, or you're so worried about messing up that you don't start in the first place, you're never going to get ahead. So for me growing up, it's just the way I am. Like, I just lived embarrassed, so to speak. I mean, think about being like when your kids are in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and your memories are sitting around the room and knowing that the teacher was going to ask you to say a word out loud, but you had to get really clever. So you knew that there were 6 kids in front of you and the teacher was asking them to read each 4 words. And you're smart enough that in first grade, you're calculating how many words down till your turn. You only have like a minute to figure this out. And you're memorizing those words to not feel embarrassed. So like, your leaps ahead, like what you're focused on as a young kid is so, you're forced to be so much more advanced than other people that
Yes.
I could recognize really early on whether it was an adult authority or a child. I'm like, how come why are things that seem hard to other people so much easier for me to see? And then things that are so easy in school, I would want to like crawl under my desk or pretend I had to go to the bathroom and run, you know, so I knew early on it was different, but I also knew what my strengths were other
Yeah.
people's weaknesses. So if I took advantage of that, I could deflect and people would focus on coming to me for mentorship or coming to me and say, hey, what would you do to get out of this class? Or, hey, I want to leave school early, but I want to play on the lacrosse game. What do you think I need to do strategically? And I'm like, oh, this is what you do and you won't get in trouble. And so I just always knew the ins and the outs and could figure things out and pivot really quickly.
Mm.
And that being clever like that really helped me. It helped me in my adult career with jobs. People would be like, if you leave this job, you're not going to get a job somewhere else. I'm like, oh, I don't like the way they're treating people. So watch me. And I never got hung up with, so for example, I had a lot of friends in high school that went Ivy League. I mean, we just I went to a really, even though it was a public school, it was a very predominant, people, education was everything.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
didn't play lacrosse. I'd be lucky if I went to county school. Honestly, my grades were so bad.
Right.
But I also saw that they were incapable sometimes of logical problem solving that I could do. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just very observant and saw the yin yang, the balance that everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and just really tried to capitalize on what I'm really good at. I could talk my way out of things. I can figure things out. Commission wise, when I was in sales, I'm like, I could learn how to work very, very little and be like the top paid rep. So it definitely carried through in my adult career, and the confidence to not be afraid to speak up, be different, respectfully. Like if I saw something a different way at a board meeting, I would respectfully speak up and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing and why. Whereas I noticed a lot of my colleagues were yesers. They wanted to do well in life. They were used to doing well their whole life growing up. They're people pleasers, so they would go to the bar after the meetings complaining about everything. But I'm like, well, why are we complaining about it? Why don't we just tell them like, hey, we truly care about this subject and this is what we think's best for the business. Like,
Right.
why are we just complaining about it? So I kind of got ballsy. I don't know if I was born that way or if it was because of how I grew up in school or both.
Yeah.
My parents supported me. My mom really was amazing in letting me try a lot of different things and supporting me and helping me get through school, like
Yeah.
writing papers, not making me feel embarrassed, telling me how smart I was. So that helped too.
Yes. Yeah. And so I want to bring your inner critic results into play here. So you took the inner critic assessment, which is which kind of breaks down all of our just the inner deeper workings of our mind, right? And so you had a perfectionist inner critic, a guilty inner critic, a restless inner critic, and what else? You didn't have victim, right? You had restless, perfectionist, inadequate, and guilty with no victim. So can you just kind of talk about, like, particularly at the times, like the time you and your husband lost your job with the other company, or where do you see that your inner critic kind of rears her head?
When myself or loved ones are attacked in a wrongful way, I'm like the first one to like not have to prove justice, but and I'm evolving as I age. But like I have such good intentions in life.
Yeah.
So if I feel like someone is doing something that is either misspeaking or misrepresenting who I am as a person, I'm not really good at walking away from that.
Yeah.
And I won't spend my time fighting dirty, but I'll fight like more clever.
Yeah.
And want to prove myself to get ahead even more. Yeah. So when someone tries to like knock me down, it's almost like I'll show you. And it kind of spearheads me to even do better, to prove myself.
Yeah. So it sounds like between the combination of really caring deeply about other people and kind of almost wanting their lives to be better, and also proving that you can get ahead. Which, by the way, I'm telling you, Danielle, you and I are twinsies in this. This is exactly what drives me too. Like, my inner critic is all about, I've got to prove my value and prove my worth. Yeah. And also about really, really deeply caring about the quality of people's lives. So,
Which
so
is
I
hard.
do that.
That's hard to run a business when you care so genuinely about others.
Oh my God.
It's really hard. There's a fine line between balancing, like not getting taken advantage of by people.
Yes.
And having good boundaries. And also delegating, because you care so much. You have to believe in your people and you have to really just like let it go and delegate. So there's things that I know as a leader, I'm always like working on.
Always. Oh my God. Always. I mean, and the thing is that this journey that we're both on, right? I do it from the inside, you do it from the outside, but it's all, helps us grow more so that we can become who we need to be to really kind of hold the space in the world to do the things that we really want to do for others, right? That we've got to keep growing and evolving within ourselves to be able to hold that capacity, right?
I think that's so important. I think that people like you and I and are open and want to evolve and grow, take it for granted that's like such a handicap for a lot of people that don't think they need to grow or feel embarrassed to admit that. But I'm like, that's such a beautiful thing. Like we're just all here in this existence to evolve and to grow and learn. So if you don't make mistakes, you're not doing what we're supposed to be doing in life.
That's right. But there are many, many people that and it's no fault of theirs. They're just, their life is operating around, I need to keep that pain shoved down. And so that's what their whole life becomes. Whereas we're using, our our feelings of inadequacy, the shame, the doubt, whatever, as sort of the catalyst to grow. If we're willing to look at it, that's the very thing that can help us grow. And that's the very thing that's had you, do something that is going to, it sounds like it's going to change the planet.
It will actually. It will definitely change healthcare as we get more advanced.
Yeah. So I want to kind of dive into that because let's just talk about what your vision is for the future of healing. Like who are you? Is there a certain, kind of disease that you're looking at targeting?
Right now we have two products that are FDA cleared. There's a powder and there's a gel. Okay. And it takes all the biomolecules that are naturally in our body. So there's nothing that's foreign. There's nothing that's synthetic. It's exactly what you have in your body, what I have in my body. And we put a bunch of good stuff, like think of a supplement almost.
Mm-hmm.
in the powder and the gel. So when you have an injury on your skin, so you say you were in a fire or a traumatic car accident and a chunk of your legs on the side of the road.
Mm.
If I use our product on you, instead of it just like the skin growing, but you'd have like a concave area because a chunk of your flesh is on the side of the road, it would actually signal to your body to repair and regrow the tissue from the bottom up. So as it healed, it wouldn't look like anything was wrong. You wouldn't go through scarring, all that stuff.
That is amazing.
It really is. So if you think about the material and you think, okay, so our first indications are for wound care. But we know that if the material recognizes injury in the body and then signals to your body to repair and to restore the area, and it also tells your body to not go into inflammatory and then not form scar tissue, there's a lot of other things we can do with the technology. So right now we're starting to work with the government. We're looking at ways to inhale it into the lungs because fibrosis of the lungs is really just scarring of the lungs. So what could we do for that? What could we possibly do for asthma to reverse the inflammation of the lungs? Could we potentially inject a heart, like after a heart attack, so that muscle doesn't die? I think there's a lot with from MS to brain injury, wherever there needs to be a repaired organ in the body. We're going to start looking at that. So I'm pretty excited. Wake Forest is the regenerative medicine hub of the world. And Dr. Tony Atala, I've admired since I got into this space. And it's really ironic. I used to, I don't know if I manifested this or what, but I used to watch his YouTube videos and just learn everything I could about regenerative. Dr. Tony Atala, it's Atala.
Yep.
And if you really want to learn about regenerative medicine, he's just the sweetest human that just runs Wake Forest med school, Wake Forest program. And he just knows everyone and everything and has the best intentions, which not everyone in medicine has those intentions, unfortunately, because it is a business just like anything else. So.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're partnering with them and we're going to look at potentially merging stem cell therapy with our technology.
Wow.
So you've heard of stem cell therapy, right?
Sure.
Okay, so
for everybody, can you what exactly is stem cell therapy?
Okay. So within regenerative medicine, there's different ways that you can use things that we naturally have in our body to heal and restore. Stem cell is a way of taking cells from yourself or from another source and putting them into your body with the hopes to repair and restore.
Yeah.
But when you take outside stem cells and put it into your body, some of them are recognized as foreign, some don't thrive, and some die, which is okay. It is what it is. But our cells in our body think about a spider spitting out a cobweb, a spider web. And the spider lives in that cobweb. Okay. Yeah. So in our real bodies, this happens. Our cells spit out webs of information, and that's called an extracellular matrix. And our cells live in that extracellular matrix. In the extracellular matrix is all the good stuff that our bodies need, the tools and instructions to heal and remodel without going through like scarring and pain and inflammation. Yeah. So our technology basically takes the extracellular matrix. We take the spider web without the spider. Make sense? So we're taking everything around the cells that tell the cells how to thrive, how to live, how to remodel, what to do in the body. We put into our gel and powder. So when you put it into the body, we're giving the cells everything they need to know what to do. So now we can look at combining stem cell therapy and our technology together to see if we can even enhance the treatment and get the cells to perform even faster and better. Or potentially in the lab, can we grow a heart valve or a kidney even faster? Because in the past, they were relying on just stem cell.
Okay. So one of my best friends has ALS. Is this something that, are you looking into things like, like that, those kinds of diseases, cancers, anything?
Yeah. I mean, we have a whiteboard that's pretty extensive, but we didn't take outside funding to catapult our company. So my husband and I, because of the behaviors we've seen in the past, we made a pact that we would do this independently and not take outside funding. And we didn't want to answer to a board. So we have to balance, like when revenue comes in, reinvesting it into other studies and other projects. Yeah. So we have a list of like, not only what our priorities are, but also the government where they want to focus, because there are some things we're doing in sync with them. And
Yeah.
it's definitely a balancing act. But
Okay.
there's a lot on that whiteboard, because I mean,
Yeah.
that's what keeps me up at night. I think, gosh, it could be me, it could be my loved one, it could be my child. There's all
Yeah.
these things, and it kind of can make you dizzy. And you just take deep breaths and trust that whatever the
Yeah.
next disease state or whatever you're supposed to help with next is going to naturally unfold, because
Right.
otherwise you would go crazy.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing you were talking about earlier about, first of all, needing to develop that muscle of patience, which, by the way, I want everything done yesterday. But that's, again, if we're going to look at that through the lens of the inner critic, right? In some ways, we want it done yesterday so that it can sort of calm that anxiety that it's never going to get there. It's never going to reach the vision that we want it to reach. So if we can just get it done now, it'll relieve that tension. But there's, it's almost like doing what you can do right here, right now, while at the same time letting go of trying to fully control where it's going to go. Because on some level, you can just do what you can do now.
You have to, this is what I remind myself of. I have no choice but to stop trying to control, because if I look back, I could never have written my story to where I am now. I could not have dreamt that. So I have to trust that there's a plan bigger than I can wrap my head around. But if I don't just trust and just pause and let things naturally unfold, then I'm going to be screwing up with better plans than you know what I mean? Like, there's better plans than I can think of.
That's right.
So I really try to just reflect back, like again, Danielle, could you ever predicted that you would have a house fire and that's what would make you move in with your husband? No, I could not have predicted that, but I'm really glad that happened, else I may not be with him today,
That's right.
So
That's right.
I think at times where we feel like we have to control, just reflect back on your life and be like, okay, look at when I tried to control and look when things naturally unfolded. And when they naturally unfold, that's usually putting you where you need to be.
That's right. That's what, that when I talk about the workings of the inner critic mind, that's a big one, is control, right? So my inner critic's name is Worrying Wilhelmina, and she, I have everybody name their inner critics, and she is all about, I need to control the path, I need to control the direction, and that is, what I'm doing and what I'm bringing into the world is having people let go of that part of their personality, right? Because actually there are parts of our personalities that helped us get ahead. And then there comes a point where they hold us back. So it's sort of, So it's like,
so for me, I can totally, so for me, I have such a knowing, this innate sense, like this, I know this is going to happen. I can feel something. So for example, like I can feel, big things will happen. And I know that I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to have to interview and be on stage answering questions, which is why I got into the podcasting in the first place. I told my colleagues, like, I just have this knowing that there's going to be a lot of people wanting to interview me. And if I don't start preparing myself for that now, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what it's going to be about, but I have this knowing I need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, speaking to people and answering questions on the fly. So look, I don't know what my life in 5 years or 10 years is going to look like.
Nope.
And the old, like Danielle from 15, 20 years ago would have really tried to muscle through to get to the end to figure out, like, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing?
Right.
But now I've learned that I can only control myself and how I feel.
Yes.
So right now, this feels good, like having this interview with you, because I'm broadening my horizons. I'm learning to speak, like answer questions on command.
Yep.
But tomorrow, if someone wanted to go out to dinner with me for work, and I didn't feel like going, the old Danielle would have muscled through and gone to dinner with that person, because I'm like, oh, I have to leave my options open and I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I want to make this happen. But instead, I would say to myself, if this doesn't feel right and I really don't want to go, there's probably a reason why I'm not excited. I don't need to know the reason, but I'm going to cancel and say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Beautiful. So that's where I'm shifting. I may not know why, but I listen to my internal guidance system, which are my emotions dictate like what decisions I make these days.
I love it. I love it. You are speaking my language. All right. So your vision that you keep in the forefront that has you that right that might guide what feels right now. Can you tell all of us what is your big vision?
Well, I can see in my head different ways where we can administer our product to help people
Yeah.
heal down the road. So whether
Yeah.
if it's through an IV injection, inhalation, right now we're just putting it on topically open, body parts. So I can see being able to inject it for different indications, inhale it, IV. So that's what keeps me grounded and motivated,
Yeah.
knowing that clearly this is bigger than me if I'm able to heal this many people. So I have to trust that what I'm supposed to be doing and my next steps, like I'm going to be guided. And I know that sounds cheesy to some people that don't have
Oh
a
no,
huge faith,
not to me.
but when you see miracles created in the hospital, you have to know it's not you. Like, I'm like to my
Yeah.
husband, how does this shit drop into your head? I don't
Right.
understand.
Right.
He's like, I don't know. I just know. I'm like, okay, that's not you. Like, there's no way that you
It
just get all this information dropping in your head as to how to make these products so you can grow kidneys in a lab. Like, it doesn't,
Yep.
um, there's
It's
no logical sense to that.
no,
But
it's
that's what keeps me
channel.
grounded and that's what keeps me going. And so
Mhm.
in business, when I have to make decisions and I'm uneasy because I am a people pleaser and I do want to feel worthy and I do want to feel a part of a group, I
Yes.
have to say to myself, what is my mission? And that's to help patients. So if
Mm.
this is not going to help me help patients better and faster, then I'm not doing it. And then it's not on me. It's not me. I'm letting these people down. I'm not hiring them or I'm not
Right.
going to use them as a consultant. I feel guilty. It's like, well, would that have helped patients faster? No.
Yes. Right. I mean, you just so brilliantly illustrated what it means to look at your inner critic and say, I hear you. I know you want to people please, and I know you want to, prove yourself. But no, we're not, I'm going to unhook myself from that. And I'm going to actually consciously and deliberately tune into, right, my bigger vision, which is, what I'm hearing you say is that you have a bigger vision for what you want to bring into the world, but you're also really tuned into what feels right and true and good for me, what feels in alignment for me, that your focus is both on helping the planet, but on yourself as well, which is a very important, kind of dual role you need to play.
I think that happiness is success. And
Yeah.
if you don't focus on feeling good, you're not going to get to where your goals are.
Oh my God. Okay. That is a mic drop moment.
Ah,
That is exactly it right there. Everything comes from within. If we're focusing on making sure that we are fulfilled, we are happy, we are in gratitude, we're in peace, and we're accepting all of the parts of ourselves, right? The inadequacy, the not enoughness, the guilt, the people pleasing, all of it. If we can really be with all of it, that's a game changer.
it is. And I have been fortunate enough to see extreme wealth and extreme poverty, extreme health. And I've seen people the next day blink and have a traumatic accident in the hospital. So at some
Yes.
point, when you've been exposed to so much, it makes you realize really quickly what our purpose is on life. And that's to feel good.
Yes. Beautiful. So I cannot wait to see where FetTech continues to evolve and how it changes, healthcare as we know it. It's just absolutely fascinating. So how can people just continue to follow your
Yeah.
journey with all that you and your husband are
If
creating?
you Google my name, Danielle Fette, it's F as in Frank, ETTE, a bunch of stuff will pop up, but I'm pretty sure Instagram is just Danielle.Fette, LinkedIn's Danielle Fette, and then FetTech, our website. You can go to all our different medical device companies from there. It's FETTECH.com.
Amazing. Just thank you for not just the work that you're doing, but the willingness to keep, reaching for what's next and what's next and what's next, because that's what's needed to change the future of healing. It's really extraordinary.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you soon.